Well, here's a solution. Those are 10-inch center lines. These pricey wheels, but they fit right. My fender's going to match the bumper up there. That looks pretty good. And if we look at this side, you see how pathetic that little wheel that was in there looks. This one meets fill it up. Yeah, that looks real nice. I've got this old bed here. I cut it up because it was rusty and I didn't pay much for it, but I think this old Ford script looks a lot better than that newer style. So I'm gonna cut this one here and take that bed off there, and I'll just fabricate some patches and weld this one. It's in fairly good shape. Yeah. It's got some rust in it, but not that bad. So I don't know what I'll do here. Actually, I don't need that bottom bar at all. Don't know exactly what I'll use on it, but I'll go ahead and cut this bed off of here and put that one up there. I should be able to make a patch pretty easy for that. I'm gonna have to narrow it a couple inches anyway. We'll get that moving. Well, that bed looks much better. I think I can move it over to right there. About an inch inside the panel. I'm pretty sure I can just weld this bed right onto this tailgate here, and not really have to worry about patching any of this stuff. I'll set it on there a little better. Well, I just measured my distance between my old pins here and cut this bottom bed off. It's really rusty right in here real bad. And my idea is just to weld these right to the pin. That'll fix the bottom of the bed, and then I'll weld the top up here somewhere, and then I'll just cut the excess off. So that's the plan. Weld it up in there first. Oh, there it is, welded on and cleaned up. It's not completely welded, but it's solid. And the interesting thing was that I started cleaning up the rust and stuff. Looks like this bed was chrome plated or nickel plated at one point. So I just cleaned up the Ford there, even though it's not a Ford. And phone drives me nuts. My new car extended warranty is about to expire. I ought to send them a picture of it. Anyway, that's I think it's a lot better looking bed than the old one, the other one. It's in there much cleaner, and I transferred the tail lights over, and they look pretty good. And these holes in this right here, I'm going to have enough metal I cut off at the end there, and a piece down there, to make a patch out of that, so I can patch that bed up pretty nice and weld it on the edges there. Doesn't have to be super strong, but this will make this whole thing much more stable than it was. So it's got a bend in it, and I'll try to straighten that a little bit. But I'm real pleased with this. Again, that fender is going to be alright. And those tires really look nice. Kind of anxious to get this thing out and get a full view in the side. I think I'm still going to cut this bed, you know, 6 inches, maybe a foot. I may cut this frame off here right behind the spring, and I could move this bed up a foot, probably past that thing there, and it'll give it definitely more of a bobbed look, but it really don't look too bad as it is. Anyway, just admiring my handiwork here. Please like and subscribe if you find some value in these videos. Well, my last steering joints came, so I kind of hooked them up down there, and I've got this wheel. It's I think it's a little bit close to me, but the thing is that I can get out from under it here. It's quite a bit further back than I'd like. I trimmed it some. I cut that tube off 3 inches, and I got this firewall mount Heim joint sort of deal. I've got that mounted where it needs to go. I figured out with my U-joints and stuff that this will work here. I'm just trying to get the steering wheel in a good position. I think it's kind of sticking up a little high, but if this is I'm a little skinny guy, so if a fat guy tried to get in here, I don't know. It's a little too close. I'm gonna cut a couple more inches off of it. I just cut this much off. Looks like if I cut the same amount, steering wheel will be down here somewhere. I think that's it's just kind of high. Yeah, if a fat guy tries to get in here, it'd never make it. So I'll pull it out and cut off a little more. I think I cut a little too much off that time, but it's almost up against the dash now. If I take it all the way to the brace, I think about right there is where it should be. So somehow this support is gonna limit the travel of this thing. I'm a couple inches off of the Heim joint right now. I'm gonna have to grind my brake pedal just a little bit. Not much, but I'll have to figure out some way of putting a collar on here, something to lock this in place. I've got two big bolts right here that holds that main plate in there. I can do something right there. I think this plate is way overkill. It's heavy too. Well, anyway, at least I've got my steering column where it's supposed to go. I'm gonna just kind of use little pieces of wood or something and prop it up in there, and then I can go down there and mark where it's at. It looks like that firewall support's in a good place, and I've got it flush with the angle of this firewall here, and I think the floorboard's supposed to match that. So what I'm gonna do is just weld this in a couple places right here, and that should hold it. Looks like everything's turning good, and I'll be able to mark the shaft where I need to cut it. Once I cut it, then I have to machine a double D on the end of it. So this is not going to be real adjustable. The longer the double D I cut in it, the more that the steering column can go down, but it's not going to be very adjustable unless you do some cutting and putting stuff in it. But anyway, I'm just going to fire up the welder and tack this, and see how everything turns. I did a little more work here. I got a bolt up there in the upper right hand corner and one down here in the lower left into the original bolt holes for this floorboard. It looks like this is going to interfere with my bearing right here. Probably grind that out a little bit. And I got one bolt right there I can probably save by the dimmer switch. What I did was weld a little, just weld on it. But I got the floorboard pretty flat. I think what I need to do is cut all these grooves out of here, cut it right across here, and put a plate in it and notch that plate, so this will be much stronger. But at this point, it's kind of a deal for another day. It's in pretty strong and bolted down good. I don't need any clamps. I would never get that one out. But that's pretty good, and I wound up with a little bit of a gap here in my floorboard I made. I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm gonna have to cut quite a bit of this out to clear the shifter. I'm gonna cut a big hole in it there for it, probably back here towards the back. But you can see by the welds here, I got plenty of room to cut it. So that's where Mr. Floorboard's gonna go. You could probably get in there and hammer it back a little. I would like to have this all the way back against the frame there, at least good enough to get a couple bolts in it. I don't remember how thick this lip is. It might be thick enough as it is to get a bolt in there. The only way I can find out, drill a hole, see where it's at. But main thing, looks like my floorboard's in straight now, where it's gonna go. And I'm clearing everything. So just press on here. I'm gonna go ahead and put my steering column in here and just roughly mock it up where it needs to go and measure this long shaft here and cut it. And I'll take it home and machine that in for double D. I could just grind it off by hand, but that gives you a little play, and the tighter that I can make all the tolerances, the less wiggle I'm going to have in this. But at this point, it's good enough to, I'll just cut that little tab off there that's up in the way, and put a couple bolts through there. It looks like I can get at least one, maybe two small bolts into that square hole, so I can clamp this top of the bearing in tight. So that's what I'll do. I'm gonna put the shaft in and measure it, and then I'll take it home and cut it up, and that's gonna be kind of it for today. Poker Saturday. And I got a couple of bolts in the bearing there, and I've got this taped up about 3 inches off of the dash. Don't want your hands to hit the dash. And I've got about 1/4 of an inch right there. So this is basically where this is gonna go. And now I gotta put the right Heim joints on here and mark the shaft. I got my shaft all marked, and I cut it off here and machined this about 1 inch for the double D. I made it just a little long. I don't know where my mark is. I sanded it off. But here's the shaft, and it's all polished in the right length. Now all I got to do tomorrow is put it in, weld it up, make a couple braces, and I should have good steering. It'll only take me about a half hour to do that tomorrow. But I'm going to end this video now because there's quite a bit with the rear wheel and how I mocked this up, and I'll make another video with it when it's all hooked up here next. So like and subscribe, guys. Appreciate you.